Hello, I'm Libby Mumford, editor at Packaging Europe, and I'd like to welcome you to our latest video as part of our Sustainability Perspectives series, where I'm pleased to be sitting down with Elisabeth Staab, who is the Global Sustainability Leader for HHC's Rigid Packaging Strategic Business Unit at HB Fuller. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Libby.
No problem. So there's been a fundamental shift in the paper packaging industry for consumer goods for more eco-friendly solutions. And I'm keen to hear how Elisabeth will lead the strategic roadmap for sustainability for rigid packaging. So firstly, could you please tell me about your new role at HB Fuller and your expertise in the area of sustainability?
Yes, absolutely. So the rigid packaging group at HB Fuller is comprised of end-of-line, case and carton closing, beverage, label and packaging applications, packaging makers, so the production of corrugated and folding carton, our adhesive coated solutions, our tape solutions, graphic arts, and envelope business. And in 2021, we really revamped our strategy to drive sustainability in packaging applications and design. So in my previous role, because my role is new, I just started in January this year, in my previous role as a global marketing manager, I led the project of our strategy revamp together with the business leaders of rigid packaging. And we had been observing, excuse me, the trends in the market really for quite some time, and really saw a need there and had been launching various products and solutions over the past year or two, really to tackle sustainability issues. But we felt that this is really a paradigm shift in the industry. And this is really sort of the change for a new future for packaging, for consumer goods. So we went out, we got external support really in order to help us get the best and deepest possible understanding of these trends and where they will take us and where they will take the packaging industry in the next 5 to 10 years. And so in my new role as global sustainability leader in rigid packaging, it's really my role to lead the implementation of this strategy that the team put together at the end of last year. So I have the advantage in my role that I'm not looking at the results, the business results every month, every quarter, but really can have a longer term view and guide the business to implement this strategy. So sustainability has been a passion for a very long time. For me personally, really since my university years. At home also, I'm very conscious about my purchases and behaviors. And I have to say, having children, they also challenge you as to the choices. And they say, well, if we do this or if we do that, is that going to create more CO2 or not? So it's always impressive how kids pick up on these trends. So previously in my marketing responsibilities, I've of course been looking after market trends and customer requests in terms of product developments and the impacts that those product developments have on the packaging of our consumers. And then also looking a bit broader afield in terms of supply chain, transparent supply chain. I worked with our business to implement SEDEX globally, as well as looking after SMETA audits, and for several years was also responsible for our EcoVadis assessment at HB Fuller on a corporate level, and have also been working with the task force to develop the corporate sustainability strategy at HB Fuller. So sort of working in the background to support the team working on the corporate strategy there. So that really gives me a broad view on the area of sustainability in general and for our packaging applications specifically.
So can you give me an overview of the strategic roadmap at HB Fuller?
Yes, so for our strategic roadmap, specifically for our packaging applications, so really targeted for our rigid packaging business segment, our strategy is really based on three main pillars. So the first one being reduce, the second one being recycle, and the third one being fossil-free alternatives. So when we talk about reduction, we're talking about lower application temperature application, the reduction of adhesive consumption overall. So you have various examples of that where the materials in packaging can also be reduced substantially. We like to look a lot at the packaging that is actually on the shelf in the supermarket. That's sort of what we see, but I like to call it the hidden packaging. That's really the packaging that is used to secure the pallet, all that tertiary, quaternary packaging that is used from the producer's warehouse all the way to the supermarket. So there are various alternatives to be used in palletization, for example, to reduce those materials overall. And variations in packaging design. The second pillar is recycling. So that's really where the adhesive, which is traditionally a very small part of the overall package, whether that is the hot melt on a box, whether that is the adhesive on a label or on an envelope or in a book, it's really about the recycling of the primary packaging material, whether that is paper or board or the glass bottle or the PET bottle. It is absolutely essential that the adhesive separates well, lets go of those fibers in the repulping process, or washes off really well in the wash off process, whether that is for bottles that are then to be refilled or for PET or glass bottles that are then crushed down and turned into new bottles and new use. And then our third pillar is fossil-free alternatives. Currently, much of our adhesives are based on petroleum fossil chemistry. And here we are really looking at the bio-based alternatives, whether that is more likely than not from trees or other agricultural product, which does not interfere with the food supply chain. So we're working with various partners there in order to find those alternatives. And some other areas that are pretty exciting, and there are some companies that are starting to develop those technologies, is really working with CO2 capture technology and then chemically synthesizing the CO2 into materials that we can then use in our adhesive development. So several years ago, we developed what we call the sustainability ladder, really showing these three pillars as a step-by-step process. Changing packaging with all the infrastructure and the packaging assets that are already in the market, making huge changes overnight is a challenge. So this is really a step-by-step process, reducing as best as possible, making sure that the products can be recycled, and then finding alternatives, fossil-free alternatives for those adhesives.
Mm. So can we focus on some of the specific applications that have been launched? Can you tell me how and why they've been developed, and how these solutions will help lead us towards a sustainable future?
Absolutely, it'd be my pleasure. So over the past 12 to 18 months, H.B. Fuller really has been instrumental on various applications and launched various adhesive solutions for sustainable packaging into the market. And I have to say, one of my favorite ones is the multi-pack bundling for aluminum cans and also for PET bottles. And this is really a great example where it really demonstrates that sustainable solutions come from cooperation with various industry partners, and that working together, we are able to develop better solutions for a more sustainable packaging future. We worked with industry partners to support them in the development of the Nature multi-pack and also of the Keel Clip, the multi-packs that glue aluminum cans and PET bottles to one another, or to cartons that are then easily carried home by the consumer. And here it was a real challenge because we're using adhesives as they have never really been used before, in that they're gluing containers to one another or gluing the container to the cardboard. And of course, here the recycling of the adhesive is very important. The making sure that the adhesive stays on the carton board and is then easily repulped in the repulping process of the carton board, or when the adhesive is on the containers, that it does not have any adverse effects on the recycling of the aluminum cans or the PET bottles. In Europe, as of last year, we've had the ban on the use of single-use plastics. And here the paper straws have been a tremendous development. And we've really seen that the paper straws have really taken over in the European market and also in other geographies. And for an adhesive, a water-based adhesive, to then give that moisture resistance so that you have a sturdy straw that does not start dissolving in your drink, that water resistance performance up to over 3 hours is really essential. And our current development here is that of a compostable version. So that's really exciting for us. And then finally, the e-commerce market really is a huge growth market, and we know it all. The boxes and the envelopes we get oftentimes have a plastic-based tear strip in order to conveniently and easily open the package. So this is where our team developed a sustainable tear tape that is fiber-based. So that means that you have a fiber-based tear tape in your box or corrugated or folding box envelope, and you can easily open your package or envelope. You have a pleasurable unboxing experience. You do not see a plastic tape when you're opening that box. And then those additional fibers go into recycling in order to make new boxes and new envelopes. And it's not plastic that's separated out in the repulping process. So those are just a few examples of some of the more sustainable solutions that we have launched over the past couple of years.
So what are your future goals building on top of this?
Well, I'd say we are really focusing on working with industry partners. We have really seen that the best ideas are created by teams, and teams that have more diverse viewpoints and experience. So really getting everybody around the table, the packaging producers themselves, the consumer brands, to be able to analyze that issue that they see with their packaging, the specific problem that they have identified, and coming up with a solution in order to develop a new packaging design, a new packaging type, which might entail a new type of adhesive or not. That really gives tremendous results. We've seen that with some open innovation sessions we've run with Blue Box partners here in Europe, and that has proved very successful to develop true value add solutions to the customers that we have been working with there. So we hope to be able to replicate those types of workshops with customers and industry partners in other regions. And the other area where we are looking to work more with industry partners is the changes that we see coming in the paper-based packaging area in general, in terms of the resources that will be used. With more and more paper products being used, there's more demand on those fibers, which inherently means that there are going to be more different sources for those fibers. Those fibers will be recycled more, and that means that there's going to be a change in those substrates. And that's really where we, as an adhesive supplier, can support our customers and the packaging industry overall to make sure that the adhesives are effective on those new types of substrates. And of course, finally, working with bio-based alternatives. It is not easy. It is a real challenge to develop new bio-based alternatives, and not necessarily cheap. So really building those partnerships with raw material producers to get those new technologies out of infancy and get them to industrial critical mass, so that those are the raw materials that we can use in future. We play a critical part in enabling those new technologies. Mm-hmm. And of course, new packaging concepts, as I said, the use of more paper, or maybe materials that currently we don't even think of for packaging, could very much be the packaging materials that we use in future. So we're always on the lookout for those too.
So my final question for you, what is the main challenge you foresee for the kind of strategy HB Fuller wants to implement?
Well, this sustainability strategy for the rigid packaging team and the business segment is really a strategy for the long term. This is not a quick win. This is not a quick win strategy. This is really a marathon, not a sprint. And success is not linear. It comes in spurts, and some development projects, as we well know, take longer. And we really need to be sure that we focus on those projects and areas that we believe are going to have the biggest impact going further. It's always very tempting that you want to do many different things, but you'll only really be successful if you focus on those most important projects. The other challenge that I personally see is that the industry, our packaging industry and the consumer goods, we really need to change in order to have that change, long-lasting and impactful change for sustainability. And not only when legislation forces us to do so, forces us, the industry, to do so. This really is about our future, and getting sustainability right in packaging and reducing, recycling, and having fossil-free alternatives really is going to help us to have a future. And otherwise, we really won't be giving a livable planet to future generations. So I feel very strongly that this is important. And again, a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us today. I look forward to seeing how you grow into your new role, and what to see from HB Fuller over the next few years, and in the marathon rather than the sprint as well. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, and thank you to our audience as well for watching.
Thank you very much for your time, Libby.